Okay, Derek Parker, DP here, NBA draft enthusiast. Some would say content creator, some would say distributor of garbage, whatever you want to call me. We're coming up on the 24-hour mark of the NBA draft lottery having happened. Obviously, hell hath frozen over. Dallas has jumped a record 10 spots up and will reportedly, per Tim McMahon, about 10 minutes ago, draft Cooper Flagg. They are indeed going to draft Cooper Flagg. San Antonio jumps up 6, Philadelphia up 2, and every single other team, save for Chicago, Atlanta, and the Spurs, fall. I got a mock-up about an hour after the actual lottery. Here I'm just going to react. It's going to be a little more free-flowing. I'll be able to give a little bit more general thoughts without the rigidity of a mock draft. I'm not going to get into too much specifics, like in terms of picks. I'm just going to kind of talk about what actually happened, what some of the implications are. And again, yeah, I mean, the single craziest NBA lottery I've ever seen. Just bailout after bailout. Even last year, I mean, Atlanta jumps up to 1, Houston jumps up to 3. The league-wide implications were almost nothing. This year, Dallas gets bailed out for February's disaster. San Antonio gets to add another piece to their already incredible core. Philadelphia hangs onto their pick, grabs number 3 in a great draft. And if you're a fan of my content, if you're a NBA draft fan in general, it was about as bad as the lottery could possibly go, because all of these rebuilds that we've been following for the last several years, Charlotte, Washington, Portland, Utah's a new one, Brooklyn's a new one, all of these teams fall, and they're going to get worse picks, and they're going to get worse prospects than Dallas, who is a play-in team, San Antonio, who effectively would have been a play-in team, Philadelphia, they're a mess on their own. Quite honestly, subjectively, not my favorite lottery result. This is not something I anticipated. It's not something I planned for. I'm happy for Mavericks fans as a whole. I think the fandom went through it when they obviously shipped off a superstar for not that much in return, which, just to quickly touch on, I'm not mad about. I was never mad about the Luka Doncic trade in general. I think it's justifiable to trade Luka Doncic. What wasn't justifiable was the way that they did it in not doing due diligence, not looking across the league for packages, because they probably could have got 27, 28 better packages than what they got. But I digress. I'm happy for Mavericks fans. You get Cooper Flagg. Again, per the McMahon report, they're going to draft Flagg, which is obviously the correct decision. Now it's, what do you do from here? I think Cooper Flagg is going to be good enough to hit the ground running in year 1. He's going to be a positively impactful player in his rookie season. And I think with the new CBA, a rookie scale contract on a competitive team is a great thing. Now, do we really think this team is capable of winning it all in the next 2-3 years? I don't know. I mean, it's tough. AD's a phenomenal player when healthy. Kyrie's a phenomenal player when healthy. They have a decent win-now core. It's honestly a team that I would have had pegged to win a lot of games next season, even sans Cooper Flagg. Now you add this 6'9" two-way force to it. You've got Klay Thompson, PJ Washington, Najee Marshall, Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford. It's a good win-now core. But are you really going to win the NBA Finals in the next 2 to 3 years? I'm doubtful. So I'm fine to give it a year. Give it a year and a half with this core, with AD, Flagg, and Kyrie as your centerpieces. But after that, I think you need to pretty quickly be thinking about rebuilding around Cooper Flagg, around Derek Lively. That's a phenomenal front court to have for the foreseeable future. I basically had it in my mind, 7-8 teams Flagg could play for, and Dallas wasn't one. So now it's basically a complete reset in terms of what he adds to Dallas, to this roster around AD, Kyrie. I don't think they make waves as soon as next year, with Kyrie probably coming back mid-season. But yeah, Cooper Flagg is a Dallas Maverick. It still feels completely insane to say, but it happened. So yeah, moving on to the San Antonio Spurs, the second luckiest team in the lottery. They jump up 6 spots to nab the number 2 pick. This is going to sound like hating. It's not hating. This is just coming from a place of incredulity. San Antonio has been gift wrapped, completely handed the keys to a potential dynasty. They land Victor Wembanyama in 2023, basically just literally winning the lottery in terms of every single team would have taken him number one. There was nothing anyone could have done to had Victor Wembanyama aside from winning the lottery. They do it. In 2024, they nabbed the 4th pick and grabbed Stephon Castle. That's one of a few decisions that they actually made. It was a good one. I wasn't necessarily high on Castle as a prospect. I certainly didn't have him up near number 4. They take him. He wins Rookie of the Year. He shows all these things that he didn't at UConn, which a lot of people expected. Great. That was one of a few really good decisions that the organization has made. And then this year, you're gifted number 2, which again is essentially set in stone. Of course, they've got options, which we'll get into. But number 2, in terms of draft experts, has been Dylan Harper for the long haul. So 2 of the 3 major picks that you've made now in your rebuild were consensus, easy. Almost anybody could have done it. That's just incredible. That's just incredible to me. So good on San Antonio. Good for them. I think ultimately what they do here is take Dylan Harper, despite a ton of Spurs fans in my comments on my latest mock saying that's not the case. If you think they're not going to draft Dylan Harper just because they have guards, you're sorely mistaken. There's not a lot else to say. They drafted Stephon Castle to be what Dylan Harper is. He's a jumbo guard. He can have the ball. He's a downhill force. He projects to be one of the better scorers in the NBA at his peak. He's got passing chops. He's fluid. He can score off ball. His shooting's going to get better. He's a good cutter. He's the second best player in this draft, and if you pass on him just because you drafted Stephon Castle last year, who you can still move to wing, who you can still make your 6th man, who can still start because he's that good, they're going to draft Dylan Harper. I mean, based off what this team has looked for in the last several years in terms of positional versatility, positional size, feel for the game, Dylan Harper checks absolutely every single box. The only other option is this looming Giannis trade, which I do have a Giannis video coming out just because I do feel like it's kind of draft adjacent, just in terms of the Bucks are probably looking to rebuild. They're going to want these draft picks back, young prospects that I've probably covered in depth. I do think the Spurs are on their short list, and I think the Spurs could be interested in trading for Giannis. These are things that I don't think are out of the realm of possibility, especially since they have number 2. It's going to be Dylan Harper, whether it's San Antonio or a different team. Harper could usher the Bucks into a totally new era. Giannis got his ring. They desperately need a reset. It makes some sense. But again, I'll have more on that later. I think ultimately what San Antonio does is takes Dylan Harper. Now, some other options here. If I pull up the big board. Ace Bailey, sure. I think the gap between the 2 Rutgers prospects is wide, personally. But I get Ace as a potential trade down candidate. VJ doesn't make a lot of sense to me for San Antonio. Knipple does, but again, the gap between Harper and Knipple is wide. That would take a trade down, not something I personally would do. The only other prospect who makes a ton of sense to me at number 2 or a slight trade down would be Trey Johnson. And that's simply because the off-ball punch that he packs is better than almost anyone, save for like peak Ace Bailey. Trey Johnson's had a nice pre-draft process, I will say. I mean, he scored 20 points per game as a true freshman, doing so at all 3 levels. His anthro stuff came back great. He's quick. He's fast. He can jump. He has a 6'10.5" wingspan. I'm skeptical that Trey Johnson's going to fall below 4 at the absolute minimum. And it wouldn't shock me if he went at 3. It wouldn't shock me if San Antonio really wanted him to play off of Wemby for the foreseeable future. But again, I think Dylan Harper is the play here. I think he's the pick, and I think San Antonio lucked into another good one. And the last of our really lucky teams is the Philadelphia 76ers, who jump up to retain their pick. It does not convey to Oklahoma City, and they get number 3. The reactions to Philadelphia landing number 3 have been really interesting to me. Sixers fans are obviously excited not only to retain their pick at all, but to jump up to number 3. And everybody seems to have already penciled in Ace Bailey. Ace Bailey's going to be the pick. He fits so perfectly. He's been the consensus number 3 prospect. Now, Ace Bailey's certainly an option here. I mean, as an off-ball wing in a core that's already good, he does make sense. But I think he's far from just the pick. Like, you can't pencil Ace Bailey in at number 3 right now. VJ Edgecombe, for all intents and purposes, is probably the better basketball player right now. As I just talked about, Trey Johnson is going to be an option there. You look at a core of Tyrese Maxey at the 1, Trey Johnson at the 2, or even 3 with potentially McCain at the 2, Paul George and Joel Embiid. That's disgusting. And yeah, Ace Bailey at his peak, if he hits the ceiling, is just as good, but there's just a chance Trey Johnson's a better basketball player. There's just a chance that Con Knippel's a better basketball player. Come on, Malawach, which could allow Joel Embiid to slide to the 4. There's other options here for Philadelphia. I wouldn't write Ace Bailey's name in ink on these mock drafts at number 3. I just wouldn't. That's not how my brain works. That's not how I'm going to do it. That's not how I'm going to evaluate it. So is he an option for Philadelphia? Sure. Is he the outright only option for Philadelphia or even Charlotte at this point? No, he's not. So I thought the reactions there have been interesting. It kind of feels like an insurgence of I don't want to say casuals because I feel like that has negative connotation, but an insurgence of Philadelphia fans or just NBA fans that haven't followed the draft class as closely, kind of swept in with the lottery and were like, oh, Ace Bailey's automatically number 3. That's what it's been all year. And I don't think that's the case. So, and then the last team I'll singularly touch on is Charlotte, who out of these rebuilding teams to fall saw the shortest fall to number 4. So they're the quote-unquote lucky team among Utah, Washington, New Orleans, Brooklyn, Toronto. And I think they fell into a really interesting spot. They're a team, you bring up the Hornets and they've got pieces that you like. You think, oh, they've got LaMelo Ball. They've got Brandon Miller. And then you keep looking. KJ Simpson, Nick Smith Jr., Mark Williams, Nurkic, Trey Mann, Seth Curry. Oh, this team's super far away still, really far away. So they're in the unique position to kind of get the residual star power from this top. Obviously, Flagg goes 1. I think Harper goes 2, again, regardless of who's there. Maybe it's San Antonio, maybe it's not. Ace Bailey or Edgecombe could go 3. I still think there's potential for Trey Johnson to sneak up there, maybe even Malawach to sneak up there. And then at 4 for the Hornets, you can be left with this high upside swing regardless of who it is, whether it's Edgecombe that's still on the board, Bailey that's still on the board. I think you swing for the fences if you're Charlotte and continue to hope that it works out. Maybe bet on some positional size like you have in the last few years. Hope Salon comes around and that you've got a core you can move into the future with. And the rest of these teams, we can pretty much bunch together. Utah falls 4 spots. Tough. Worst team in the NBA to fall 4 to number 5 overall is brutal. Washington, the second worst team in the NBA, falls 4 spots to number 6, their lowest possible option. Brutal. New Orleans down 3, brutal. Brooklyn down 2. That is a death knell, essentially, for Brooklyn unless they can trade up. Just a brutal result for the Nets. Toronto down 2. They're in a little better position than these others, but still not great. And then the rest of these make sense given how the regular season shook out. Houston number 10 via the Suns pick. Trailblazers 11, Bulls 12, Hawks 13 via the Kings, and Spurs 14 via Atlanta. Just a crazy, crazy lottery. Every year I feel like I have an idea of what's actually going to happen at the lottery. Sometimes it's really correct, sometimes it's not at all. This was completely off the radar. This is like if you took the blip off the radar and put it on a tee and drove. Picturing Cooper Flagg in a Mavericks jersey doesn't feel real or right. Not that it's a bad feeling necessarily, it's just going to take a while. I've had his jersey swaps in my head as Washington, Utah, Brooklyn for so long that Dallas is going to take some getting used to, for sure. So yeah, that was a small, quick reaction to the draft lottery. I don't know if there was anything organic, original in there, or fiery hot takes. I have no idea. That's just how I feel about how it shook out, how things are going moving forward, how I think it affects the league. And yeah, I'll have plenty more videos coming. Obviously, the mock I put up is not some final mock. I'll have plenty more, and I'll have big boards and more heat check scouting reports. So yeah, excited to dive in now that we actually have the lottery standings, and we'll see you next time.